Good evening and welcome to the Grand Prairie City Council meeting of Monday, May 13th, 2013. I'd call the meeting to order and ask everyone to join us in singing our national anthem. Thank you to the National Film Board for the images of our country and to our very own Grand Prairie Boys Choir for the audio. That'd take us to the adoption of the previous council meeting minutes. Councillor Croghan.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I move the council adopt the minutes of the City Council meeting held April 29th, 2013.
Thanks very much, Councillor Croghan. Did anyone note any errors or omissions in that set of minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries, and we move to the adoption of the agenda. Councillor Croghan.
Thank you again, Mayor Given. I move council adopt the agenda as presented, but I'd like to add 9.4 tender and item number 9.5 annexation.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Croghan. So those are the two additional items from our Council Committee of the Whole meeting just a few moments ago. Any discussion or debate on the agenda as recommended? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. And that brings us to the delegation portion of our agenda. This is an opportunity for anybody in the community to come forward and address council on any community-related matter. I think we're going to have an introduction from at least one group with the CPA. I see Mika de Groot here. And so Mika, do you want to come forward and tell us what's going on today? Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Hello, everybody. About a year ago, I met you saying we have some transportation needs. We need some accessible taxis here in Grand Prairie. We had some council members here who were involved in cheerleaders, and I need to say thank you on behalf of everyone that I'm representing today. We had a fantastic cheerleader event. Your support through the council and the changes that you're making in the city to make this a wheelchair accessible city is really welcome, and we appreciate everything that you're doing to make that happen. There are a few cheerleaders today who may or may not have something that they want to add about what their experiences are like, and if we can just do a quick ask if they could come forward, I would really appreciate that.
Sure.
But thank you, you're really doing a good job.
Wait, can we have more visitors like you, please?
I'll leave it.
Sure. So this is the opportunity, as I said, the delegation portion. So if there are any of the chair leaders that would like to come forward and address council and sort of share their experiences through the day, that'd be great. We give you a minute or two to do that if you feel comfortable. And if not, that's completely fine as well. So is there anybody who would like to come forward? Oh, I see one guy wheeling forward that's not unfamiliar to a council chambers.
I better get in here first.
Come, wheel on up. Okay. Wheel on up and introduce yourself for council. And
I will.
Thank you, Mayor Given and council members. I'm Maureen Curry. I'm the new library director over at the Grand Prairie Public Library, and this was a great opportunity for me to spend the day in the wheelchair at the Montrose Cultural Centre. I didn't join the rest of the crowd to do the fun things they did. I went to work. But I did have a great opportunity to explore the cultural centre, and I'm pleased to say that it is very, very easy to get around in that centre in a wheelchair. Everything from the library to the art gallery, and I made a special point when I was in the gallery to see if I could appreciate the artwork at the same level as having done so myself, and truly can, upstairs going across the bridge and everything, all the areas. Went to Esquires and found that was very easy and straightforward. The only issues that I did have was trying to get into the public washrooms. They were a little difficult to access, the doors. And of course, not surprisingly, couldn't reach the books on the top shelf. So but the staff was very helpful, and service desks are very easy to access. So I'm very happy to report that it was a good day with not a lot of frustrations. And thank you to Kevin O'Toole, Councillor O'Toole, on our library board for bringing us to my attention. It was a great time, and I look forward to doing it again. So thank you.
Great. Thanks very much for your participation. Any questions for the delegation?
Nope.
Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Just one question. You said about the public washrooms and is it the door opening or just the
It was the door opening.
small
yeah.
button to open it? Not
There
a
was
big-
no door opening.
No door openings?
No, so it was a matter of leveraging it and pulling it towards,
Okay.
so there's a tenants meeting coming up next week, and
Duly noted.
will be on the agenda to address that issue.
Thank you.
Good to see.
Thanks very much, Maureen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so anybody else that would like to come forward and address council? I see somebody wheeling their way up.
Oh, I might as well, I'm here. I
Welcome.
used the wide angle one to get in here. Good evening, Mayor Given and councillors. Tom Burton's my name. I'm a fellow councillor from the AMD at Greenview, as you all know, and I took this opportunity today to participate in the Chairleaders program to bring awareness, not just to myself, but to the general public that I talked to, as we participated in obstacle courses through the Eastlink Center and as well through the Prairie Mall. There's just little things that you wouldn't pay attention to, like, especially in the chair that I'm in today. It's not really designed to be out in the public. It's more for the on the sports one. It's the sports chair, they call it.
They can
It's
tell
a
you're
little-
you're a high performance model, obviously. So
I
wanna
am
make
a
sure-
high performance, high maintenance model. I'll say it before you do, okay. But just the little contours in the floor itself. You're going along, all of a sudden one wheel's spinning out. And there's enough weight in this chair, as I'll contest, to hold it down. So, and it's not that. It's just the little unevenness of the your floor, or as the previous speakers stated, you try to get into a public washroom. Your public washrooms, the doors aren't designed for these chairs, but I noticed some of these doors, they open the wrong way, no buttons on them, or even to get into the handicap stall. It's not actually designed adequately to get in there. And just even like so far, what I've noticed in the facilities I was in today, in the public washrooms, it's all the automatic. But some of the other old style with the knobs rather than the lever action, same on your door openers and stuff like that, it's a lot easier for somebody in a wheelchair to be able to open the door with a lever action. So you developers, contractors out there, look at that in the future. But very wonderful experience, and I was glad that I was approached, and I was glad that I could take the opportunity out of a not so busy schedule today. Well, actually it was, but it was an enjoyable experience, and looking forward to next year. I believe it's the city's 100th anniversary next year, so maybe we, between the chair leaders and the city, we have to do extraordinary event for next year for the awareness. So keep that in mind. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks very much, Mr. Burton. You didn't think you were going to get away without questions, did you, Councillor Crokin?
Thanks, Mayor Given. Thanks, Tom, for you participating. That was very good. When you had said out there, you developers out there, you know that we are on TV, but we are looking at our development services. No, I appreciate you mentioning that.
Yeah.
But we are looking at our land use and our development permits and in the buildings, and sometimes it does get overlooked. I will admit to that. So the doors, like you said, need to be a little bit wider. They need to have buttons. They need to have the levers to help out our people that are physically handicapped. So.
Yeah. It's sometimes it's the building codes that are out there that we have to approach to have changed. And one of my other capacities that I'm in, I've been working on that through the Fire Smart program for building codes. But part of the handicap is you got to look at these developments. Maybe the facility today isn't going to be utilized for a disabled person, but tomorrow it might be. So you got to make sure you remember to go forth with the designs. So
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Tom. Thanks for being here today, and thanks for taking part.
not a problem. Thank you all.
Is there anybody else that would like to come forward and address the council? The smart lady that brought gloves. Good move. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, Mayor Given, councillors, and administration. My name is Miriam Manick, and I'd like to say I'm very thankful for the opportunity that I had today to experience firsthand what it's like to spend at least a good part of the day in a wheelchair and taking a firsthand look at accessibility issues. I actually got involved in this because of the example of members of council. Mayor, given your example when you were online a while back, talking about your experiences and posting them, and also Councillor Wong and Councillor O'Toole with their experiences as well. It kind of inspired me to be able to get involved a little bit more as well. And the experience, although you anticipate and can prepare for certain things, is always an eye-opener for many different levels. I also had one of the high-performance wheelchairs with the wider base, and that also presented issues of accessibilities when a lot of doorways were not quite the right size for me to be able to pass through. Again, things like washrooms were an issue, and while I recognize that most people in a sport wheelchair may not take it shopping with them, although people with sports cars take them to the mall, and we should be allowed the different choices. The big surprise was even in the East Link Center, where as a physical fitness facility, you would expect to be able to see a sport wheelchair there. I actually tried 2 different locations. While the bathrooms, one of the bathroom stalls might have been accessible, the door to get into the change room to reach that stall was not accessible. So again, I would encourage council to continue to make decisions regarding creating more awareness around the issues of accessibility, but also to raise the standards a little bit more. We don't necessarily have to go with minimum standards. We've got a lot of support in the community, and the accessibility issues do not just affect people that are in wheelchairs. At one corner outside, where there was no way to be able to get up over a curb, I was sharing the same frustrations with a mother who had a child in a stroller. So those accessibility issues affect a greater population as well. And sometimes we're not mindful of the experience until we actually take the time to be able to go there and see what it's like to spend the day doing that. I'd like to say thank you again for the example that you've set and for the opportunity to address you here today.
Thanks very much, Ms. Manick. Any questions for Miriam? Seeing none, thanks very much. Thanks for taking part, and thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and address council on this or any other community-related matter? I'll ask one more time if there's anybody else that'd like to come forward as a part of the delegation portion of our agenda. Okay, and seeing that there is nobody else, thank you very much to all those who took part in the cheerleaders event today. And thanks very much to the folks from CPA Alberta who helped organize it. I know it's a fantastic event all across the province, and it's great to see it growing and so many members of the public taking part. Fantastic job, ladies. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're on through the delegation portion of our agenda and into public hearings. So we'll start with item 6.1, bylaw C1100-192, the land use bylaw amendment. And who's going to be introducing this? Mr. Johnson? Joe?
Yes, thank you very much. Just 1 second.
So
Pull
I
up the-
call this public hearing to order.
Yeah, just, oh, I got it. Thank you, Mayor Given. The purpose of bylaw C1100-192 is to rezone the subject properties from their current land use district of RM medium density residential to RG general residential. The subject properties are shown here on the map. They are in the Smith neighborhood near the Morgan's Meadows and Juno Estates phases. Park Road being the one that goes at an angle on the left side of your screen. City administration initiated this bylaw following an inquiry by the owner of Lot 24, which is one of these two lots. He has since become the owner of the other property as well. At the time of writing the report, administration had not received any letters from the public in response to our public notification, which includes signs on the property, letters to adjacent property owners, and advertisements in the newspaper. As I said, the lots are currently zoned RM in the city's land use bylaw. So this RM land use district extends all the way in there at the very northern end of that, northwestern end of that RM district. However, they were not always zoned RM. In fact, doing a little digging into our previous land use bylaws, at one point they were zoned R2 with the remainder of this area RG. R2 was basically our RG of the day. And it, like I say, it was zoned, these two properties here were zoned R2 with the rest of this. When we adopted a subsequent land use bylaw and the new land use district naming scheme, RG carried over to these properties as well. But when we adopted our new land use bylaw, C1100 in 2003, the subject properties were changed to RM medium density residential. However, there is no evident reason why the city would have decided to change those properties to RM. So we believe it was a mistake at the time of adopting the new land use bylaw. That has happened in the past, and as I say, we didn't find any evidence to support a reason why we would have changed it. Also, given the size and shape of the lots, they lend themselves to an RG type land use district. Admittedly, they are a little large, but as they are with RM, they are essentially undevelopable because you wouldn't be able to place a building on the site that conforms with all the standards in the land use bylaw. Water and sanitary services aren't an issue, and rezoning it to RG does not introduce any land use compatibility issues given the nature of the surrounding land use. And no subdivision will be required to enable the development of these lots. As such, administration recommends that council give bylaw C1100-192 second and third reading.
Okay, thanks very much, Mr. Johnson. So a brief opportunity for council members if you have questions of administration. Councillor Radburn?
Thank you, Mayor Given. Joe, just in practical terms, tell me what the change means. I understand, and this is for our audience as well, I understand in terms of the medium density residential, but give me some examples of uses under the general residential.
Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Mayor Given. General residential will allow for the development of single detached dwellings and I believe semi-detached, as well as maybe some other forms, maybe a single detached with a basement suite, but certainly nothing above a semi-detached type development.
Good, thank you.
So when you say semi-detached, is that generally known as sort of a duplex?
Yeah, there's.
Front,
there's-
back, and different, but.
Yeah, there's
two-
different
two units-
configurations,
two
that's
units
right,
together.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Councillor Krogan?
Thanks, Mayor Given. Joe, on this particular piece of property, I see the railroad tracks are fairly close there. Will there be a necessity for an 8-foot noise fence?
Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Mayor Given. No, there won't be a requirement for it. Certainly the tracks, the proximity to the tracks isn't an ideal situation. There is a sliver of IB general or industrial business land use on the left side of, or on the west side of Park Road. That'll provide somewhat of a buffer, but certainly no fence requirement for those 2 lots.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Any other questions for administration? Seeing none, then I would call for anybody that would like to make a presentation or submission in favor of the application. If there's anybody in attendance today that would like to make a presentation or submission in favor of the proposed land use bylaw amendment. And I don't see anybody coming forward, so I would ask if there's anybody who would like to make a presentation or submission in opposition to the proposed land use bylaw amendment. Is there anybody that would like to come forward and make a presentation or submission in opposition to the proposed land use bylaw amendment for this rezoning? Okay, and I don't see anybody coming forward. I have one last opportunity if council has any further questions for administration. Okay. Seeing none, then I would close the public hearing and we'd move on to business arising from the public hearing. Councillor Rice.
I would move, I would move second reading of bylaw C11000192, an amendment to the land use bylaw.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Rice. Any discussion or debate on second reading? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Councillor Rice?
I move third reading of bylaw C11000192, an amendment to the land use bylaw.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Rice. Any discussion or debate on third reading? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries as well. Thanks very much, Councillor Rice. That finishes all of our public hearings for this evening, and we'll move into unfinished business. Items 7.1, bylaw C 1166D and bylaw C 1103D. Is that Mr. Manuel? Who's introducing these items on the traffic bylaw amendments and the noise nuisance and public disturbances bylaw amendments?
Okay, Mr. Mayor, we're just pulling it up right now. Okay, we're having some quick technical difficulties, but we'll just proceed anyways. So, we're asking for a third reading of bylaw C-1166. And with the acceptance of third reading of C-1166, we would ask that bylaw C-1103 be amended by deleting section 18 in its entirety. And section 18 is a housekeeping item in which we're asking to move the existing section 18 into the traffic bylaw to allow for a process in which we can do enforcement under that provision that will allow an officer to issue a summons or a violation ticket to a motor vehicle that's making excessive noise longer than 20 minutes in duration. And under the previous noise bylaw, we had to be present for the entire 20 minutes, and then we would have to personally serve a notice to the owner of that vehicle or the driver of that vehicle. Now there won't be a requirement for us to have personal service to the owner.
Thanks very much. So we're looking for third reading. Councillor Question on it? Sure.
This amendment deals only with vehicles idling in residential areas, does it not? It doesn't deal with those ear-splitting, horrible driving down the road vehicles and motorcycles.
So this specific section is absolutely intended just to deal with idling noise in residential areas. You are correct, we do have other provisions under both the Traffic Safety Act and under our noise and nuisance bylaw for excessive vehicle noise. Again, the challenge with that one is capturing the event occurring.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mayor Given. Just a question to Chris. I understand you're going after noise, but under 62A, I'm just going to read it because it's pretty specific. It says, "No person shall allow a vehicle engine to remain running in a residential district or within 150 meters of a residential district for longer than 20 minutes while the vehicle is not in motion." Doesn't say anything about noise in that paragraph. So can that be reworked? Because basically you're saying if it's minus 30 and you're trying to warm up the Grand Caravan, you could get a ticket. Is that what it's saying here?
Mr. Manuel?
So certainly it could be interpreted that way. I believe the problem is anytime you incorporate noise specifically, they're going to be looking for a decibel number attached to that, which as a minimal number. And the problem is what's noisy to one neighbor may not be, so we go on a balance of, okay, is the noise that's being created, is it reasonable? Is it affecting sleeping facilities? We take into consideration several factors as to how that's likely to affect the person making reporting the complaint to us. By attaching a specific decibel level, there's two things. One, it makes enforcement really difficult, and the second part is establishing what decibel level is considered unreasonable presents some challenges. So I'll admit that it is fairly generic right now. I can say, from what I can tell, this provision's been in the bylaw for at least 10 years. And I'd say on an annual basis, we probably respond to somewhere in the vicinity of maybe 20 to 30 complaints about this per year.
I just want to finish up. Thank you, Mayor Given. Since it was brought forward, I do think maybe the wording can be redone because it's saying specifically to vehicles running for 20 minutes. So in reality, you can go give a ticket. You're looking for noise, but in 62A, I'm not reading about noise in that at all. I'm looking at it as running. And I know the Environment Committee on city vehicles shutting off unless they're bylaw or emergency vehicles, that you would shut them off and then start them up. So I know where you're going, but the language is very, very void. I know it's been there a while. So is there any way of changing it to, or you have to continue using that language?
Mr. Manuel?
So I certainly believe that council is able to present amendments to the motion. There may be ways it could be directed back to myself to look at rewording. It would likely consist of just including what you said, some comment about specifying vehicle noise.
That's what I'd like to see, something added about noise, because it's all about noise, and noise is not in there.
Okay, Councillor Rice.
Are we going to vote on that?
Nobody's made a motion, so we need a motion to have.
We need
okay. Sorry, not a motion to have third reading, a motion of third reading.
Okay, because I can't support what Councillor McLean is saying. I am a person that doesn't have a garage, who's lived through the minus 40. I can't imagine why you would need to warm your vehicle for longer than 20 minutes. So, at any rate, I'll move third reading of the bylaw.
Okay, so that's third reading of bylaw C 1166D. Which
Yes.
is the first one we have to. Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Rice. So, discussion, debate, and just to be clear, looking to administration, this is actually the amendment removing a section of that bylaw from the traffic bylaw.
No, it's changed.
Sorry, this is adding to the.
Yeah,
sorry, adding to the traffic bylaw. The next one is to remove. Okay.
That's
Okay,
correct.
thank you. Okay, so thanks very much, Councillor Rice, for that motion for third reading of bylaw C 1166D. Open for discussion debate. Councillor Wong?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Given. I'm going to speak in favor of this motion. This bylaw also has several housekeeping items that are included with it as well, including an addition to raise fines for people parking in disabled parking spaces from $150 to $250. I believe that this idling bylaw has been working for the city because it meets the intent. At this stage, bylaw, they respond to complaints. So by the time someone complains to bylaw about a vehicle idling, and then bylaw shows up and has to sit there for 20 minutes, that vehicle has obviously idled for way too long. Probably in excess of an hour by the time all that happens. And the intent of not having an anti-idling bylaw is to be reasonable, right? You want to start your car, get it warmed up, and people have the remote car starters, they automatically stop after 10 minutes and then you restart them again. That still would likely not get someone a ticket because that's within the 10 or within the 20 minutes. But this is really directed towards those large diesel trucks that make a lot of noise, and they run all night. And I know that they are a major nuisance and they are terrible for the environment. And I'm surprised that employers even allow their employees to idle their vehicles all night on the off chance that they get called out. So I'm going to speak in favor of this motion, and I hope that it passes third reading.
Thanks very much, Councillor Wong. Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. I also am speaking in favor. I happen to live in the Avondale area, and there's many people that have diesel trucks, and it's not so much the noise that bothers me, but it is the fumes that come off these trucks that does irritate me. And I know some mornings when it's very cold out, I've had some concerns from people in Grand Prairie that the whole street is kind of a blue color and it's very hard to breathe. So it encompasses the people with asthma and stuff like that as well. So I'm in favor of this.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor O'Toole. Councillor Crokin.
Thanks, Mayor Given. I'm speaking in favor of it too. I think sometimes vehicles are left running more out of not having the proper equipment. I know diesel engines are equipped with, or can be equipped with, like 2,500 watt circulating heaters, what keeps the engine, the fluids warm and the oil warm. So then it will, when they start it, it'll start and have warm air circulating very, very shortly. So I think if they were just gently nudged to get circulating heaters installed in these great diesel engines that we need for this country.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Crokin. Any further discussion or debate on the motion for third reading? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Councillor Rice.
I move third reading of bylaw C-1103D, an amendment to the noise nuisance and public disturbances bylaw.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Rice. So, any discussion or debate on third reading of bylaw C-1103? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you, and that motion carries. That finishes all of our unfinished business and takes us into reports. Item 8.1, bylaw C-1228A and bylaw C-1100-195. And I'm assuming this is Mr. Welton.
Right,
we have the
thank you.
entire planning department out tonight. Awesome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an application to amend the VLA Montrose Area Redevelopment Plan and the Land Use Bylaw for 9901, 9905, 9913, and 9917 109th Avenue. We're recommending that bylaw C-1228A, which is the amendment to the VLA Montrose Area Redevelopment Plan, and bylaw C-1100-195, which is the amendment to the Land Use Bylaw, be given first reading, and Monday, June 10th, 2013 at 6:30 p.m. be established as the date, time, and location for the public hearing purposes. Wade Greentree, on behalf of the landowners, has submitted an application to amend the VLA Montrose Area Development Plan. and to change the designation of the site from mixed use to semi-detached residential, and to amend the land use bylaw to create a new DC 11 site-specific direct control district and change the zoning of the site from DC 5 to DC 11. The purpose of the amendment is to allow for semi-detached residential development in accordance with the drawings that form part of the proposed DC 11 district on a direct control basis. There are text amendments to both the redevelopment plan and the land use bylaw, which form part of this amendment package, which are part of the bylaws that you have. Advertising and surrounding landowner notification of the public hearing will be undertaken as required under the Act. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks very much, Mr. Welton. So I need a motion for first reading. Councillor Wong.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I move that first reading be given to bylaw C 1228A, being amendment to the VLA Montrose Area Redevelopment Plan.
Thanks very much, Councillor Wong. Any, so no discussion debate on first reading. Basically just gets us the process started. I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Councillor Wong.
I move that first reading be given to bylaw C 1100-195, being an amendment to the land use bylaw.
Thanks very much, Councillor Wong. Motion for first reading, so I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. And final, Councillor Wong.
I move that Monday, June 10th, 2013 at 6:30 p.m. at City Council Chambers be established as the date, time, and location for public hearing purposes for bylaw C 1228A and bylaw C 1100-195.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Wong. So any discussion or debate as to date, time, and location proposed for that public hearing? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries, and that handles all of our reports for tonight. And we would move on into committee business, and we'd start with item 9.1, the Community Growth Committee. And I think, Councillor Radburn, you're going to handle that set of business. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I would move the council receive the minutes of the Community Growth Committee meeting held April 30th, 2013. I guess with the deletion of under who was present at the meeting. If you get rid of Council L. Radbourne, the observer, because Councillor Radbourne is already there as a member of the committee. So just with that one little change.
There was a duplication there. Okay, thanks for that catch.
That's my split personality at work.
Thanks very much, Councillor Radbourne, for that catch. Any other items of note on the recommendation to adopt the minutes as amended now by Councillor Radbourne? Seeing nothing, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Councillor Radbourne.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Given. I would move that council refer the recommendation for council to approve a letter of support for the Mighty Peace Watershed Alliance application for funding from Municipal Affairs back to the Community Growth Committee for further review of new information. So this is a change than what you see in the in our package tonight. Administration has some new information that will possibly change the recommendation. So that's why they've asked it to send it back to committee so they can share that information and council can then decide what recommendation to make.
Okay. Thanks very much, Councillor Radbourne. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Okay, that motion carries. Anything else, Councillor Radbourne, from that set of minutes that you wanted to highlight?
Thank you, Mayor Given. There are three other items that we discussed. One, there was a approval of a secondary suite in a restricted RR area that was discretionary use. Secondly, the economic impact and parking and traffic assessment recommendation came from administration. We chose to, they were suggesting that we, I guess, outsource the work to a consultant at a certain cost. Committee felt that before we made that kind of a decision, we should look at what information in those areas we need that's relevant to our decision making, and then secondly, find how much of that information can be brought forward by administration before we decided if that we might need to outsource and spend money on I guess gaining that information. And thirdly, there was an issue brought up in terms of subdivision development approval timelines not being met, and committee asked administration to bring forward a report on the challenges and maybe opportunities in terms of streamlining the process or making some adjustments so those timelines can be shortened up and developments aren't held up. Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. Councillor McLean, do you have something on that side of those items?
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I just want to talk quick on the restricted residential area. We're doing land use bylaw now, and it permits for, if they come to committee for the odd area for nanny suites or whatever. But one thing this city's been famous for lately is houses really together and tight, and we all hear about costs and expense and grading the roads. And the developer in this area asked not to go forward, and with new areas to keep it the way it was, distinguished as restricted residential. So I think council should start really looking at this. If we do want to have some lots that are maybe a different size, bigger, where people are going to spend $500,000 and you're not going to infill them even more. You picked a lot of infill areas in the city, and to really check this out, and we're in land use bylaw now, and this is one I'm bringing up, because when you have an owner, a developer that wants to actually make bigger lots and do different things, and then you start saying you want to do more infill, where are you pushing everybody in the county? So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor McLean. We move on to 9.2, Community Safety Committee from May 7th. Councillor Wong.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I move that council receive the minutes of the Community Safety Committee meeting held May 7th, 2013.
Thanks very much, Councillor Wong. Did anyone note any errors or omissions in that set of minutes? Seeing nothing, then we'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Wong.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I also want to point out something that was in the minutes. I did declare conflict of interest for the road rehab and overlay program. I since found out that I don't have a pecuniary interest in that matter, so I'll be voting on it at tonight's council meeting.
Thanks, Councillor Wong.
I move that council award tender T 3122513 for the traffic signal repair and replacement program, plus the new installation of traffic signals to TB Traffic Inc. at a cost of $908,586 excluding GST as the lowest bidder that meets city specifications. And speaking to this, Mayor Gibbon, there are a number of traffic signals that are going to be replaced downtown. There are 6 of them downtown, one at the Swan Avon and 100th Street crosswalk, and a new set of traffic signals to be installed at 99th Avenue and 97th Street, which is near Junction Point Village. That's just north of the Royal Bank, near that pie-shaped piece of the land between the Royal Bank and Grand Spirit Foundation or Pioneer Lodge. That one has been seeing a lot more pedestrian traffic, and it was felt that in the matter of safety, a set of lights needed to be installed there with pedestrian crossing. The other thing that's interesting to note is that the ones downtown are going to have that pedestrian countdown timer, and I think that that's going to be a welcome addition to our community, because it does give people a little bit of a advance warning in terms of how quickly they need to cross that street. So that'll add to the safety of our streets.
Thanks very much, Councillor Wong. Any discussion or debate on the recommendation of this tender award? Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. And this is for a couple of new lights downtown as well, right? Downtown district? Because I know they did one there that was 50 years old, and there was a few people, oh my goodness, we're shut down for a day. But I mean, they got to realize that we got to put these lights up, and it's going to be better for pedestrians and for customers. So just throwing that out there.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor McLean. Councillor Rice.
I think Mr. Kyle is here that can speak to the fact that they have negotiated these contracts, and it will begin at 6 p.m. Saturday evening and be opened again for 7 a.m. Monday morning.
Excellent. Excellent news. Any further discussion or debate? Councillor O'Toole.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Gibbon. I understood through the committee that some of these lights have been there since the mid-60s. So they are due to be replaced. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor O'Toole. Any further discussion or debate on the motion? Councillor Rice.
Will they have and Mr. Kyle can maybe answer this for the chair, to Mr. Kyle, will they have that capability so emergency vehicles can change them?
Mr. Kyle?
At this stage, they won't have that capability. As part of our ITS program, there will be upgrades required to the fleet vehicles, the fire fleet vehicles. But these signal upgrades will put in the new controllers and detection that will work with our ITS program that'll allow the fire department to dispatch pre-programmed emergency routes.
Oh.
So a future ITS phase will be we'll be looking at the GPS programming for the actual vehicles so they can do what's called real-time on the ground preemption. But what they'll be able to do once these new upgrades are done and we have the ITS in place is the dispatcher will be able to program a route that will go green for the emergency vehicles.
Wow, I hope we're going to talk about this at Municipal Government Day. Thank you.
Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Given. It's not quite detailed to this. I just want to throw it at Norm that we're coming out with traffic lights and it's very important for the community. But there is some areas where you add new development and there's no left-hand turn. And we know the left-hand turn is where a lot of accidents happen. You can name quite a few going to the Bank of Montreal, 132nd left-hand turn. There's some very big voids. And I've been bringing it up for almost 3 years in council. Hasn't been fixed yet. This is besides the point. I know, Mayor Given, but we're going to talk about traffic lights. We should also be new subdivisions that we have left-hand turns or we're fixing them. Norm?
Okay. So, Councillor McLean, if that's an item that you'd like to refer to a committee agenda for review, you certainly have the ability and could have done the same thing with an email.
I would. I've already been there a few times on it, and it's been going on.
Okay. So,
yeah.
Thanks very much for that comment.
Yep, you're
Is there any further discussion or debate on this recommendation for a tender award? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. And that takes us to 9.2.2, Councillor Wong.
I move the council award tender T24-55213 for the 2013-2014 Road Rehabilitation and Overlay Program, Phase 2, Rehab Sites, to Wapiti Gravel Suppliers in the amount of $4,114,706.42, excluding GST, as the lowest qualified tender, meeting city specifications. And speaking to this, Mayor Given, this is a 2-year program. This is maintenance that needs to be done on our roads on a regular basis. Basically, they mill off that top layer of asphalt that gets damaged and aged over time, and then they overlay it. It'll also include major concrete repairs to curbs and major manhole and catch basin repairs. This is for several locations across the city, and Wapiti was the lowest tender.
Thanks very much, Councillor Wong. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Councillor Crokin.
Thanks, Mayor Given. Maybe, Councillor Wong, you have no information on this, but when we do the cutting off of the top of that soil or pavement, do we mix in it with any like cement and roads that have had rebar in them or whatever? Do we crush that up and mix that with for on our trails, or say on some of our gravel roads that we have to spray on? Do we do that?
Ms. Donnelly?
So any debris from the capital projects with the concrete and the asphalt, it goes out to the yard that we have near the snow dump. That material is eventually all crushed through a contract we have every couple of years. And yes, we do reuse it frequently underneath trails that we reconstruct, and it gets used up in other projects.
Just a supplementary, anywhere on any of the gravel portions of the city roads?
Ms. Donnelly?
Yes, there has been some use of it on gravel roads. It is a bit challenging because you have to make sure it's clean, so it is something that we're careful about utilizing on gravel roads. The asphalt, if it's just the pure asphalt, we can sometimes do that, but sometimes they can be quite mixed, so sometimes, yes, we do that.
That I would imagine then we have a magnet to collect any shards of rebar and grater blades or whatever that would be in that material? So that we wouldn't be redistributing it on the road is what I'm getting at.
So, Ms. Donnelly?
I think in some of the earlier areas where we did spread it, there were concerns like that that were raised, and we've tried to address it, and if it can't be clean, we try and avoid using it, because we have other projects like underneath our pathways, so there's lots of uses for that material.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, Christine.
Okay, any further discussion or debate on this recommendation for this tender award? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Councillor Wong, anything else that you wanted to highlight from that set of minutes?
I think the last piece to mention is that Transportation Services came and gave a winter wrap-up report. They came back with several recommendations, and the committee accepted the report for information. I'll just highlight the 3 recommendations. First one was parking bans. The administration felt that the couple of years that they've given people with warnings is probably sufficient, and it's time to start ticketing people and towing their vehicles if they're still parked on snow routes when parking bans are declared. Just to give you an example of the severity of that, last year they issued 614 warnings. Out of that, they still did have to issue 155 tickets because people didn't move their vehicles and had to tow 13 of those vehicles. That slows down the operation considerably when you have to work around getting vehicles off the street, and the equipment just can't safely pass the streets without damaging vehicles. So for some people, it meant that their residential roads just didn't get done. And you know, everyone suffers because of that. So they're gonna be a little stricter next year, but there will be warnings going out at the beginning of the snow season to let people know that this is a year that you're gonna be ticketed as opposed to just given a warning ticket. They made some recommendations around, not recommendations, but they did mention that they were gonna start a trail and sidewalk snow removal program. A report will be coming to committee in the future. That was the direction by committee, so that committee would have a chance to discuss some of the recommendations. Also, contractor equipment will be utilized on a regular basis now. Council had made the motion to add $750,000 into the snow removal program. The majority of this will be for residential areas, but it allows for a lot of flexibility in the program. Contractors will be required to do a mandatory one-day snow school, and that would inform them of the best practices that have been learned in the past in terms of how to get around residential areas the safest way without damaging private property and without damaging public property too, because our curbs and gutters take a beating in every snowfall. Finally, there was one other piece of information. They said that they were going through this lean process. The lean process is just looking for internal efficiencies that could be had to make them operate a little smoother. The entire city is going through something like that, and the Transportation Services snow removal program is no exception to that.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Wong. That takes us to the Corporate Services Committee meeting. Councillor Rice.
I go back to 1.1 in the prelogue that says a developer contribution of $20,000. Is that not unusual?
So that's out of context. Developer contribution, $20,000 to what, Councillor Rice?
I'm sorry, it says funds for the new traffic signals are allocated from a basic grant of $200,000, a developer contribution of $20,000, and $30,000 from engineering reserves.
Norm or Christine, who's going to take that? Mr. Kyle?
There was a, at the time Junction Point went ahead, the levy bylaw was different, and there was a negotiation made with the developer at the time that they would contribute so much per phase to the traffic lights, and that's where that developer contribution and that reserve comes from. He has contributed money into those funds, into that reserve, and that is being used to offset the capital cost for those lights.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Councillor Rice. Anything further in that committee? Seeing nothing, then I'd move on to the Corporate Services Committee meeting, and Councillor Radburn.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I move council receive the minutes of the Corporate Services Committee meeting held May 7th, 2013.
Thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. Any discussion or debate on that set of minutes? Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries.
Thank you. There we go. I would move council approve the following policies as revised and presented. Policy 401, Employee Code of Ethics and Conflict of Interest. Policy 403, Health and Safety. Policy 413, Long Service Recognition for Employees. And further, that the following policies be repealed. Policy 423, Group Life Insurance Premiums After Retirement. And Policy 426, Salaries for Employment Other than Under Collective Agreements. If I might, Mayor Gibbon, I just provide an overview of each of these, these policies. So firstly, in Policy 401, there's some reformatting and reorganizing. There's some definitions added. The disclosure of property ownership was deleted because it's a requirement and it's a standard practice already. There's consequences for non-compliance, and the maximum value of personal gifts was increased slightly. So those are some of the highlights of the changes there. In Policy 403, Health and Safety, policy statement was revised to include a statement about the city's commitment to providing a safe and healthy workplace and consequences for non-compliance. And city volunteers were added. Under long service recognition for employees, it clarifies that all city employees are included. Definitions were added, and eligibility conditions for severance were more clearly stated. In terms of the two that are being repealed, 423, basically, they are a benefit rather than a policy. And 426, it's more of an operational procedure, not a policy. These recommendations came from our Policy Review Committee. I believe Councillors Rice and Wong are on that committee as well. Thank you, Mayor Gibbon.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. Any discussion or debate on the recommendation for those revisions and deletions of those policies? Councillor Rice.
The group life insurance one, can you explain why we're rescinding that?
Councillor Radburn.
In the package, it spoke of being a benefit rather than a policy. So it's part of our benefit agreements with our staffs. It's not a policy.
So we're not rescinding it, we're just moving it from one.
We're rescinding the policy. We're not
rescinding the, okay, thank you.
Thanks very much. Any further discussion or debate on that motion? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. That motion carries. Councillor Radburn.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I move council approve the amended and restated reciprocal insurance exchange agreement with Alberta Municipal Insurance Exchange, MUNIX. There are about 20 changes to this that we received for information in that committee. What I will say in terms of an overview is that this amended agreement has been reviewed by legal counsel in the Office of the Superintendent of Insurance. The MUNIX Advisory Board and comprised of AUMA board members, including Councillor Rice. And that group recommends all subscribers sign the amended subscriber agreement. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. Any discussion or debate on this recommendation? I know it was a fairly lengthy set of changes, mostly technical in nature, I suppose. None that would affect actually directly the city's coverage or any other sort of terms like that. Any other discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing nothing, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Councillor Radburn.
Thank you. Mayor Gibbon, I would move council authorize the destruction of all records listed on the attached Schedule A, and that all records destroyed be properly listed and incorporated into the minutes of council, along with signed affidavits as to witnessing of the destruction. Again, there are a number of policies there. This is an annual event, so to speak, and we always follow the policy in doing this.
Thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Councillor Rice.
Development and inspection, 1983 to 2009, drawings and building specs. Like, are these city buildings, and if they are, shouldn't we be keeping these forever in case we need to do any additions or renos or?
Audrey can respond.
Ms. Cherney?
Thank you, Mayor Given. Actually, the plans that are identified are not necessarily city building plans. However, the city has also undertaken a scanning project in the last couple of years. So these are paper copies for which the scanned records may be retained in the system for future reference.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you much, Mayor Given. I just want to clarify to Councillor Rice that being on the Archives Board, I questioned all of the items that were going to be disposed of, and they have been in contact with the Archives, and process is normal, and anything that was to be archived is archived. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Councillor O'Toole. Any further discussion or debate on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you, and that motion carries. Councillor Radbourne, anything else to highlight from that set of
One
minutes?
other agenda item, and that was the community revitalization levy. And a motion was made to direct administration to prepare a report evaluating the viability of the community revitalization levy as a funding tool for downtown infrastructure improvements, outlining potential next steps should council wish to further pursue implementing the community revitalization levy and report to a future committee. So we'll bring back some, admin will bring back some further information for discussion. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Radbourne. So I think that handles all of our regular committee business. We had our two additional items from our Council Committee of the Whole from earlier on today. The first was item 9.4, tender award. Who would care to handle that item of business for us? Councillor Rice.
I move that council rescind the award of tender T2855213 for the 2013 sidewalk program to Raider Site Services in the amount of $1,869,425 as the lowest qualified tender meeting city specifications. Second, that we award tender T28552-13 for the 2013 sidewalk program to Wapiti Gravel Suppliers, Division of NPA Limited, in the amount of $2,937,626.01 as the lowest qualified tender meeting city specifications. And further, that we allocate funds in the amount of $217,000 from the 2011 sidewalk program and $383,000 from the 2012 sidewalk program to cover the additional cost of the tender.
Thanks very much, Councillor Rice. So this again was the motion from our Council Committee of the Whole meeting from just earlier today. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Councillor Wong.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Given. I will repeat my concerns about this. Although I do appreciate that we are getting extra work done, this tender does go over our budget, and I just think that it's bad business practice to rescind a tender that was already awarded and to give it to someone else. I think that it puts the city at risk legally, and we should avoid situations where the city is put in jeopardy for any financial losses. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Wong. Councillor Crokin.
Thanks, Mayor Given. I'll be voting for this. I'm in favor of it. This was awarded to the lowest tender price. We have had legal opinion, and we are within our rights to award this to Wapiti Sand Gravel. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Crokin. Any further discussion or debate on the motion? Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Ewan, as well. I'll be voting against it, and I know it's a bigger picture, it's an add-on, but everything that Raider was going to do this year may not get done this year. So I'll be still against this, and I believe I would like to see the contract the way it was, but I'll be voting against it.
Thanks, Councillor McLean. Any further discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. I don't believe there are anything else on that item. We move on to item 9.5, annexation, and on this item, we'll look for a brief introduction from an introduction from administration. I won't force you guys to be brief. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that is a trait of planning, but we'll look for an introduction from administration, given the fact that this is such a substantial item for the city.
Thank you, Mayor Given. My name's Stuart Wright. I'll start with the introduction on the information for Council to consider this evening. As Council will be aware, the City filed a notice of intent to the Municipal Government Board on November 26, 2010 to annex land from the County of Grand Prairie in accordance with the jointly agreed intermunicipal development plan that was adopted in 2010. Since that time, administration has undertaken comprehensive landowner consultations. There have been 4 open house sessions on separate issues. Also, the opportunity for landowners to speak one-to-one with administration, to call in or to send emails that we would assist to explain what the city is proposing. Through each stage since 2010, administration has updated council for the input and the information that has been received to assist basically with formulating a position. So in addition, the city has negotiated with the County of Grand Prairie as well on certain issues to understand what potential concerns may be, what expectations are in terms of compensation, landowner transitions, and that moved on to mediated discussions earlier this year with provincially appointed mediators to assist the outstanding matters to see if resolution could be made. So from where we've actually come to for this evening, the table that's now in front of you is just indicating basically the city's position through the various stages of negotiations and landowner consultations, receiving the feedback and how the city has sort of responded from the information received. This is an expectation of the Municipal Government Board when the application is filed to see that the city has consulted with landowners, with the affected municipality, and how they have responded to that. So if I can just briefly sort of run through this table for you to indicate what each of these rows reference. The first row, debentures existing. These are existing debentures that the county have outstanding. The County of Grand Prairie, there's 4 existing debentures. 3 of those are for road projects that were undertaken, and the debentures are still outstanding. Typically, the Municipal Government Board would expect the annexing municipality to actually assume the outstanding amount of those debentures. So the proposal that's being put forward to City Council is that the existing debentures that City Administration has received information from the county that would be outstanding to the approximately the figure of 1.22 million be assumed by the city post-annexation. The second item, you'll notice that there's a couple of blank boxes where this wasn't an offer that the city proposed or something that was considered in the early stages. Landfill fees, as council I'm sure will be aware that county residents can dispose of garbage, residential garbage, for free at the Claremont Waste Management Facility. City residents are required to actually pay to use the Aquaterra facility. In going through an annexation, the Municipal Government Board will be looking at ways that the annexing municipality can basically transition and accommodate existing landowners to move into the city's jurisdiction. So the proposal that has come forward in recent months is that the actual cost for those that do continue or wish to continue to use the Claremont facility, that the city would consider an arrangement, whether it be a side agreement with the county, to actually assume those costs for a 5-year period post-annexation. The next row, other terms, again, as council will be aware that there are certain businesses within the city that fees are charged to operate a business. The county doesn't have such a system. The consideration here, and as council will note, not previously until considerations of this month, that to actually, again, to accommodate and transition those existing businesses at the time, the date of annexation, that are operating in the county of Grand Prairie, that administration is proposing a 5-year waiver on fees for business licences for those existing businesses, and stressing existing businesses to continue without paying for a 5-year period the city's fees. The next row, the tax transition, this basically is a consideration again at the municipal government board level with regard to compensation to the county of Grand Prairie as a municipality for loss of tax revenue. As council will note from the initial positions, 2011, 2012, the city's position was that it wasn't felt that compensation should be necessary because the extent, the size of the annexation area, that there will be savings to the county in respect of servicing costs that the city will be assuming, and therefore they would negate any tax revenue that the county would lose. However, through negotiations and trying to move forward in a positive manner, that it was then proposed that the city would look at a traditional approach of 5-year compensation to the county, starting at 100% of the municipal portion of the tax revenue that they would lose from the annexation area, reducing 20% each year thereafter. The tax protection, this is something again that is standard that the municipal government board would be looking for and expect. This is the transition from the county to the city tax rates for annexed landowners. I think I'm safe in saying, for the most part, province-wide, that rural taxes and mill rates are lower than the urbans, the cities and the towns, and therefore the municipal government board looks to try and transition those landowners to move into an urban environment and basically sort of move to the city tax rates. Also, the intent of the tax protection, the municipal government board typically looks of a horizon between 5 to 15 years maximum across the board has typically been the case. The reason behind that is that the expectation from the province of Alberta is that if an urban municipality is seeking to annex lands, they're not proposing to maintain indefinitely rural lifestyles. It is for future urban growth, in this case for the city of Grand Prairie over a 30-year period. So council will note the original position back in 2011, that was as per the city's last annexation, a proposal of maintaining the county tax rates for a period of 5 years, and thereafter transitioning over the following 10 years to go up to 15 years total, increasing 10% each year over a 10-year period to reach the city's tax rates. Then through the negotiations and obviously the feedback from landowners as the biggest concern as county landowners about the difference between the city and county in terms of tax rates, that the city looked at proposing to extend that period to basically recognise and to try and assist farm properties with a 25-year transition period at the county tax rates, and other, meaning residential, commercial, industrial, at a 15-year period. And that continued in 2012, and then through recent negotiations, discussions and considerations, that the city considered to try and sort of address probably the primary concern for landowners to offer another 5-year phase-in on top of the 25 years and the 15 years. And therefore, it means farm property 25 years plus a 5-year phase-in to move up to the, that will be a difference between the county and the city tax rate, to move thereafter up to full city tax rates, and for other being the 15 years plus 5 years. And finally, the reference to triggering events. Again, this is a standard expectation of the Municipal Government Board. Triggering events references when a landowner would be required to basically pay city tax rates at the end of that assessment year if they make changes to their property. So the proposal, and this again is very much in accordance with previous Municipal Government Board decisions or recommendations that were approved by Cabinet, that the standard rezoning, so if there's a rezoning request by or on behalf of a landowner, that new property that's rezoned or any property rezoned would automatically at the end of that assessed year trigger city tax rates for that property. Subdivision again, because if it's moving forward to actually see development, which is what the city will be seeking, that it does trigger city tax rates for the subdivided parcels. And finally, if there is a requirement for a local improvement bylaw, that would trigger, typically that would be for water or sewer services to be provided, that would trigger city tax rates for those properties that are benefiting from that improvement. And also, as Council will note from the additional provisions discussions, there was certainly a concern in particular from the County of Grand Prairie about existing farming operations and about the mom and pop scenario that where they're looking to basically retire, and then they'd have to pay city tax rates if they stop farming. So through the negotiations considerations, that the city considered that to provide additional sort of comfort and assistance, that they would look to allow or propose that the mom and pop scenario, they could actually separate, subdivide, and would be protected from city tax rates. And further than that, through council's consideration, it was seen that basically a first parcel out subdivision from an unsubdivided quarter section for farming purposes would be allowed to retain county tax rates. And again, because it was extended further with the concerns or issues that, let alone the mom and pop situation, if the son or daughter wanted to move back to the area to actually continue the farming, there was a worry that they may not be able to afford to do that at city tax rates. So therefore, the actual proposal that's put forward here now is to say, okay, even for the son or daughter to come and take over the farming, mom and pop can stay on the quarter section, subdivide out, and you've got happy families. So that's basically everything from the proposals in terms of dealing with the county compensation and the landowner terms. Administration is looking to actually host open house sessions, a final round on Monday, May the 27th and Tuesday, May the 28th, to actually put forward the final information, if council is willing to move forward at this stage, to explain what will be contained in the city's annexation application. And also, as council will fully appreciate, this has been an exhaustive process in terms of the consultations and seeking and making sure we had all the information and trying to work with all parties to come to an agreement. However, administration will be proposing to come forward by no later than June the 30th, 2013, with the final application for City Council's approval to actually file with the Municipal Government Board. This would avoid the school vacation months, and also the understanding that upon receipt it will still take 2, 3, maybe 4 months for the Municipal Government Board to actually schedule a public hearing, which will be the next stage through this process to hear all of the presentations in the City of Grand Prairie. So with that, I'm not sure, Mayor Given, whether you want to open up for any questions or you want me to pass over to Michael McIntyre to complete the information.
Sure, thanks very much, Mr. Wright. We'll deal with sort of the two sections, I guess, and so we'll look for opportunity for questions at this point on this section, then we'll talk about the land use bylaw provisions following on after that. So any questions for Stuart on the tax protection and compensation items that he had up on the screen there earlier? Just if, while council's thinking about that, Stuart, there is also one item that's sort of more of a technical nature, but it would be of a significant interest to the landowners in the annexation area under their tax protection. My understanding is that in Alberta, if you're in a rural municipality on a property classified as a farm or agricultural use, that when it comes to assessment and the municipality figuring out how much the value of all your stuff is on your property so they can levy taxes against that, that there's a difference in the way that rural municipalities do that, and essentially some stuff isn't counted or is counted at a discounted value. Is that correct? And if it is correct, will the city's proposal allow residents in the annexation area to maintain those exemptions that they currently enjoy?
Thank you, Mayor Given, and thank you for raising that. Yes, there is a difference that there's provincial exemptions for farm property on the the primary residence and on accessory structures for taxation purposes that would not be exempt in the urban municipality. Therefore, also what is rolled into that tax protection proposal is that the city would actually recognise and continue those exemptions for farm property for a 30-year period post-annexation. If that provision isn't included in the application, then those farm properties would basically lose that right once they become an urban municipality. So yes, that would be a considerable sort of benefit to those properties.
Okay, excellent. So I wonder if that is intended to be included. I know the motion that was referred from the committee referenced this table, and so I would just want to make sure that we include that maintaining assessment exemptions or assessment regime in the table if we're going to be referencing that table.
Yes, most certainly, Mayor Given. We'll make sure that that's included.
Okay, thanks very much. So I do see a couple of questions. Councillor Crokin.
Thanks, Mayor Given. If you could tell me when you were talking about the lowest mill rate for farmland and farm taxes, and when you said we would match the county, what if ours just happens to be lower?
Mr. Wright.
Mayor Given, Councillor Crokin, that typically how the proposed order would be worded, because we would submit a proposed order, so the Municipal Government Board would be the lower of the two between the city or the county in any given year.
Okay, thank you. And about school taxes, everybody pays school taxes. We would collect that portion and submit it with our submission. I mean, that would be that wouldn't be an exemption for the county.
Mayor Given, Councillor Crokin, yeah, what would happen is that there would typically be a condition or an agreement that we would return the taxes, because I think between the years in terms of the annexation becoming effective, I think there's a lag time, or for what's paid, that we would have to refund that portion to the County of Grand Prairie. But the reference to the tax protection is strictly for the municipal taxes, not so we would be then.
Like the Grand Spirit Foundation's requisition be the same thing?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Crokin. Councillor Monroe. Sorry, excuse me, Councillor Monroe. There.
Thanks, Mayor Given. If there was no further questions, I'd be more than prepared to make a motion.
Okay, I know that there is one second portion to this that we're going to discuss about land use bylaws. So this is just first round of questions on the first section.
Sure, I wasn't sure if you were wanting to split this into two motions, so.
Sure, I think we'll do it. It is, ultimately, it is the entire package that we're gonna be going forward to the municipal government board and to landowners with, so I think it's appropriate to do it as one portion.
Yep, no worries.
Okay, so if we're finished with questions on that part, then we'll go to Mr. McIntyre for discussion about land use bylaw.
Thank you, Mayor Given. If Mr. Helms would put the overhead back up, it might help the presentation a little bit. Thank you.
Just want to make sure we have the right person's computer on screen.
Thank you. That wasn't awkward. Okay.
Mr. McIntyre.
Mayor, given the overhead you're looking at right now shows the current zoning in the annexation area, the brown area, obviously the predominant zoning, which is the county's agricultural district. There's some bright yellow areas that are kind of a scattering of country residential, kind of non-farm housing, and kind of a concentrated purplish area in the southwest, just south and west of the airport, that indicates a county industrial area. Among the landowner concerns that council's been particularly sensitive and paying attention to through the various consultations we've had with landowners and with the county is development rights. Development rights as they might affect farmers, homeowners, and businesses. And to that end, council directed administration to devise a planning policy and land use bylaw framework that would conceptually address those concerns. And if you would just skip to the next section, please, Stuart. I won't go through the text of this conceptual policy framework in detail, but the essence of it talks about recognizing that there are existing established farms, homes, and businesses in the annexation area, and that City Council would put provisions in place to, number one, inventory and recognize those existing uses, and to amend the city's land use bylaw subsequent to annexation to ensure that existing uses that did not conform with the city's land use bylaw would basically be endowed as existing permitted uses and treated technically as discretionary uses under the city's land use bylaw, which would mean that if a use was destroyed or went out of active operation for more than 6 months, that the landowner would be able to rebuild or restore that use into active operation. The policy and bylaw concept would put criteria in place to ensure there were limitations to expansion of those uses, if given that they were allowed to continue. But the landowners could rest assured that those existing uses retained the equivalent level of development rights as under the county zoning, and at a later date, in the event that annexation does go through, then the city would initiate a process which, just like the county or the city does today for any amendment to the policy or a land use bylaw, require public consultation with those landowners and the general public, and have public hearings before those documents could be formally adopted.
Okay, thanks very much, Mr. McIntyre. Any discussion or debate, questions or comments on this portion? Well, council's just considering that. So, Mr. McIntyre, so it's in essence, probably scenario is the easiest way to imagine this. If a landowner has some kind of quasi-industrial use on their property, as might be common in a rural area, maybe a welding shop, for example, and if there's some act of nature or accident or something like that, and that welding shop burns to the ground, would they be able to rebuild that business as it was and continue that use under this concept?
Yes, this concept envisions that sort of scenario occurring.
So if that person wanted to sell that existing welding shop and have somebody come in and run a trucking business, would that be acceptable?
That wouldn't be acceptable. A change of use would not be acceptable without then going through initiating a rezoning process.
But it essentially ensures that landowners have the right to continue to use their property in the way that they're using it today.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion, questions, or comments on the proposal? Seeing nothing, then Councillor Monroe, I see you in the queue.
Thanks, Mayor Given. I'll move that Council directs administration to conclude the city's public consultation process and complete the annexation application report to include final landowner provisions and county compensation in accordance with the attached Table 1, which we saw up there, including additional land use bylaw concepts. And I know we've spoken quite a bit about this already, but I'll just add that this has been quite a while in the works here. We've been dealing with this since early 2011. An awful lot of work has gone into getting us this far. We've made a considerable amount of changes. And I think that what we're seeing at this point is fair and reasonable, and would like to see this go to the next stage. I'll also just remind everyone that the May 27th, 28th is the next round of public consultations, and I think that covers it off.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Councillor Monroe. Any further discussion or debate, or any discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing no one in the queue, then I call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Were there any other items of business on our two additional items from the Council Committee of the Whole meeting that were referred here this evening? Councillor Wong.
Yes, Mayor Given. I just wanted to bring up an error on my part. On item 9.4, I did accidentally vote yes when I meant to vote no. When I was bringing up my agenda for this report and hit the wrong button. I consulted with our legislative services, and it turns out our procedure bylaw says that once the results of a vote are declared, that can't be changed. The only way it could be changed is if someone who voted in favor of the motion asks to have a reconsideration vote. And so, you know, whether or not anyone wants to do that, it's up to them. If not, it doesn't change the result, although I do feel that the record should reflect what the feeling of each council member was.
Sure, Councillor Wong. I think Council remembers that you spoke in opposition to that, and I see a few folks in the queue that may have something to do with your request. Councillor Rice?
I would move that we reconsider 9.4.
Okay, so a motion to so this is a motion to reconsider the vote on item 9.4. If this motion carries, then we can
make the motion again.
Make the motion again, and we can cast our votes accordingly. Okay. Thanks very much, Councillor Rice, for doing that. Any discussion or debate on the motion to reconsider? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries, and so we can have the motion on item 9.4. Who made that motion?
I did.
Councillor Rice. So would you make that?
I move that we rescind the award of tender T28-55213 for the 2013 Sidewalk Pro into Raiders Site Service Limited in the amount of $1,869,425 as the lowest qualified tender meeting city specifications, and further that we award tender T28-55213 for the 2013 Sidewalk Program to Wapiti Gravel Suppliers Division of NPA Limited in the amount of $2,937,626.01 as the lowest qualified tender meeting city specifications, and allocate funds in the amount of $217,000 from the 2011 Sidewalk Program and $383,000 from the 2012 Sidewalk Program to cover the additional cost of the tender.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rice.
Since that's the third time today I made that motion.
Okay, so that motion open for discussion and debate. Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. Obviously, Councillor Rice needs a cigarette, and that's why everything's going so quick. So I would be in favor of this.
Thank you, Councillor O'Toole. Councillor Crokin.
Could you read the first numbers of that motion?
No.
Okay,
Thank you.
so I think that's a sign that we've had all the discussion and debate required on this motion. We'll call for the revote. Okay, that motion carries with
Good
two
thing I
opposed.
noticed that. You have to admit that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks, council, for your support of that request from one of our council members. Want to ensure the record reflects the way the debate went. We had no items of correspondence tonight and no delegation, well, our delegation business, I think, will certainly come up in roundtable, but we had no other delegation business. No notices of motion. We do have some council member reports, so we'll start off with the Alberta Urban Municipalities Association. Councillor Rice.
Just a very quick update for council. A few years ago, AUMA produced a paper called Alberta Municipal Action on Climate Change Environmental Scan. It supports alternatives to existing street lighting with the aim of reducing energy consumption. And in conjunction with this paper, AUMA partnered with Fortis in an LED streetlight community assessment pilot. And that was approved by the Alberta Utilities Commission. Fortis installed approximately 300 lights across 3 municipalities, being Stony Plain, Okotoks, and Innisfil, and collected data, consumption, customer feedback, etc., until December 31st, 2012. And that final report now is due at the end of May. So that's pretty exciting. ATCO has now begun testing various lighting in Drumheller and Jasper. So I look forward to what I believe will be some really exciting news on energy efficient lighting. Also, the City of Calgary has completed a pilot project on using tire crumb in sidewalk rehabilitation and building. And I think it was last week, the managing director of ARMA spent the week in Calgary going over that. So by the end of May, we should have the results as to whether how it reacts in cold weather. Are some areas better than others? How does its durability? So some exciting news on both, I think, street lighting and sidewalks will be coming forward.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Councillor Rice. I see Councillor McLean maybe has a question for you.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Just on the AUMA, on the street LED lighting, did they have solar power included in that? Because the solar power, a lot of them they all have LED lighting, actually.
Actually, I refer to it as LED lighting, but there is actually a range of alternative lighting that's being looked at.
Thank you, Helen.
Thanks very much. Grand Spirit Foundation, Councillor Radmer.
Thank you, Mayor Given. We held our most recent board meeting in Beaver Lodge at Amos Court, and I just have 5 quick highlights from that agenda. One, we did spend some time, Grand Spirit Foundation board reps, including myself, did meet with Hythe Pioneer Homes Board we annually review our working agreement with that group. Internal safety audit was completed. We did receive notice that the provincial government budget included a lodge renewal fund and some funding, and actually Grand Spirit received $807,000. It's $3,000 a unit, and we have 269 units in our inventory. And so the general manager, upon consultation with the managers of facilities, brought forward a recommendation of projects to use that money, I guess, in the best manner possible, and we approved that. LAP funding for 8 units at Wellrose Manor, we finally received from government. That was just kind of not a mistake, but an oversight when we expanded that facility, and government's now recognizing additional units for LAP grant. And we received a QP notice to commence collective bargaining, and so that will happen in June and July. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. Northwest Corridor Development Corporation, Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. Yes, we just want to give an update here on the 22nd and 23rd of this month that the NCDC will have a land to air, basically it's a conference, and there will be attendees from different airports in the region as far west as Prince Rupert. Also some commercial carriers, example WestJet and Air Canada will have representatives there. And we're looking at, we haven't got confirmation yet, but Canadian Border Services, those are the people that are we are trying to get them to set up a customs agency here. So just to give you the heads up on that one.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Councillor O'Toole. And Peace Library System, Councillor Crokin.
Thanks, Mayor Given. We do have our final Peace Library System handouts, and they're very informative. Just give you a couple little highlights, and then again, our Maureen Curry was featured on the front of our news and notes, which I'll leave in the council's room, but they're available. When people are saying that, well, we don't, libraries aren't used that much, well, I'll tell you, they are used an awful lot. In our library, there's 917,060 checkouts to patrons, 567 consulting and IT visits, 417 training attendees, 45,000 card holders. So it is, our library is very, very active. The Peace Library, that doesn't include our track. Just one figure, there's 3,095,327 items in the collection of 160 plus libraries. But just a quick caption, there's 37 member municipalities, 1 Métis settlement, 45 member public libraries, 51 contracting our services. Our service area is 92,000 square miles. Our budget is $2.5 million. And I've been reappointed as executive committee member. There's 10 members, a chair and a vice chair. And as a matter of fact, that budget is balanced. And Slave Lake was there thanking Peace Library Systems for cataloging and the fundraising of their new library, which will be open, I do believe, at the end of the month. And we do all this with 17 hard-working employees, thanks to Director Linda Duplessis and her crew. Thank you very much. That's it.
Thanks very much, Councillor Crokin. And back to Councillor O'Toole for Philip J. Kearney Dinosaur Museum.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Given. We did have a meeting shortly after the announcement of the county's funding, and there's a process of going through some more fundraising. And I just want to give a heads up that Ken and Teresa Sargent and family have donated $100,000 in funding for this project, and also Surtec, which is a neighbor of the Dinosaur Museum, gave in gifting kind of well over $100,000. So those are some of the examples of the fundraising that's going on and the charitable process that's taking place. I just want to give you another update. We've had a post meeting regarding what's going to happen with the board after the buildings and museums up and running. The change of governance, you might say, or the change of board has been brought up for discussion. Nothing has changed yet. Nothing will happen until after, and that needs to go through the county's council and on how they're going to set up the board. And just another heads up here, on the 25th, Philip J. Curry will be here, as well as the University of Alberta Chancellor. And they will be doing a speech and presentation at the Pomeroy Inn in the afternoon. And prior to that, they'll be riding tractors in the Wembley Parade. And that's my report.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Councillor O'Toole, and I'm sure that's what the U of A Chancellor thought that she'd be doing when she comes to Grand Prairie. Councillor Crokin, we'll start council roundtable with you, and we'll work our way around counterclockwise.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. On Wednesday, May the 1st, I attended a lunch celebration of Grand Prairie becoming a member of Vibrant Communities of Canada. Speaker Liz Weaver. It was very well attended, and she's a great speaker, congratulating us. Later, at 1:30, I attended the open house for the retirement of Walter Peskowski at the county office. And a little later, at 6 p.m., I went to Sears Cosmetics Spring Gala, and there they presented Helen with half a gallon of oil of delay. And later that day, I attended the Little Theatre Short Films Festival out of this world theme, and that was very, very good. It was, the language was just so excellent. May the 2nd at 10 o'clock in the morning, I also attended the annexation update workshop at the Coca-Cola Center. May 7th, 5 p.m., I attended the Wembley, the intermunicipal meeting between all of our partners. May 8th, I attended the funeral of two of our firemen's mom, Gaetan Dion. And on May the 11th, I attended the library executive board meeting then, which I previously reported on, and our AGM for the balance of the day. And this morning, I was with Deputy Mayor when she was reading the proclamation reading for Crime Prevention Week. And good job, Helen. And I'd like to give out some roses to the Rotary Clean-a-thon. I was really pleased to see those young people out there just picking up the garbage from over the year. And then I'd like to give some raspberries. I pick up my mom very early in the morning, and there was litter all along Resources Road again. I mean, people just throw out beer cans and wasn't quite out into the county. And one more set of roses. The city street cleaning crew, I am giving them roses because I got raspberries. The Department of Highways, the bypass, there's gravel and sand still a foot deep out there. And I hope somebody gets out there with they can maybe rent our street sweepers. And I also had a number of concerned citizens of our beautiful trails and our infrastructure on the Muskogee Park trails. The beavers are getting the best of our best poplars, and they're dropping them where people are walking and riding bikes. But I've been told by our community living director that he's had beaver traps out, and no, it wasn't you personally. It was that Fish and Wildlife. It takes coordination, and we are going to be relocating them to new premises in the county. Thank you very much. That's everything, Mayor Gibbon.
Thanks, Councillor Cogan. Councillor Rice.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I too attended the annexation workshop and the intermunicipal meeting. I thought it was very successful. I attended the College Convocation 2013, and congratulations to Josh Irwin, who was the winner of the Valedictorian Award this year, and it's presented to the Grand Prairie Regional College graduating student who demonstrates outstanding academic achievement, display of leadership qualities, contribution to the college, and personal growth. Also, congratulations to Jennifer Zinger, who was the recipient of the Beshian Salutatorian Award, and it's presented annually to a student with excellent academic standing who is completing a baccalaureate degree on campus at Grand Prairie Regional College, and she is graduating with a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. And that's offered, of course, at Grand Prairie Regional College in collaboration with the U of A. I also attended the opening of the Swan City Taekwondo Studio, where I broke a board with my hand, surprising even myself. And I brought greetings from the city to the Girl Guides 100th anniversary the celebration out at Saskatoon Provincial Park. A very impressive gathering, 100 years. They're 1 year older than us. And there was one of the leaders has been involved with the Girl Guides for 55 years, since she was 14 years old. And there were several leaders there who have been involved. Like, the commitment to that organization is extremely strong, and congratulations to them. And I read the proclamation for Crime Prevention Week, and I do apologize to the mayor. I thought I had it on my schedule, so I didn't mean to muscle him aside and take over that one. And I liked it too. As I said at the opening, it's can tell how important crime prevention is to council when two people are jockeying for position to read a proclamation. So again, I apologize to the mayor, and was happy to see Crime Stoppers up here and the mayor. I did step aside and let the mayor go to that meeting. That was nice of me, I have to admit. And just to remind everybody that on May the 16th, it's an evening at the Eastlink Center, and crime prevention is showcasing local agencies, and there'll be face painting, a bouncy castle, door prizes, lots of giveaways. So you might want to take your children or grandchildren to that. Also want to take this opportunity to say congratulations to our own city resident, Peter Merlo, who has just been named the chairman of Alberta Blue Cross, and he is the first chairman residing outside of Edmonton and Calgary in its history. So a huge accomplishment for him. And if I may, at this time, I'd like to ask a question. I'm not sure who it goes to, Mrs. Sauvé or Mrs. Donnelly. The new Building Canada plan has been announced, and I see that there's a fair bit of money, and they name projects for Edmonton and Calgary. Do you know if do we apply to the Building Canada Fund for any money?
Ms. Sauvé?
We do apply, however, it's a competitive process for everyone outside of Edmonton and Calgary. So we are not guaranteed to get any of that funding.
Okay, I noticed there was some, let's see, I guess this year it's been, the list of eligible investment categories will be expanded to include highways, local regional airports, disaster mitigation, broadband and connectivity, brownfield redevelopment, culture, tourism, sport and recreation. And then I was really surprised that a library or something in Stettler got some money. So, but we do obviously apply in different categories.
Yes, we do. And Councillor Rice, if I remember correctly, when the federal government announced the extension of the Build Canada program in their budget announcement this spring, I think although they announced it, I believe they still have to come to agreement with the individual provinces because, as you know, the feds don't give money directly to municipalities. The province likes to have it go through them.
Okay.
So I believe that the province and the federal government still have to negotiate the terms of that actual agreement before it can be implemented and before we can start applying. Is that correct, Don?
I haven't heard where they are in that negotiation yet. My guess is they're still working on it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Wong.
Thank you, Mayor Given. On May 1st, I attended the Real Shorts Film Festival. I've attended this for several years now, and I have to say the quality of this event is just fantastic. It's amazing the committee, the amount of work they have to do to ensure that Grand Prairie gets about 100 films over the course of a week. They have to field and watch hundreds and hundreds of films to narrow it down for us. A point worth mentioning is that there was a film in there called the Horizon Project that was filmed in the Grand Prairie area. It included a lot of local people from Grand Prairie, as well as a director out of Vancouver. I think that's one thing that we're starting to see more and more of now. Last year, we also saw a short film that was created in Grand Prairie, and I think that this is a great spin-off for the Real Shorts Film Festival. It's really starting to develop that talent locally. Yeah, Helen just whispered in my ear about a school bus, and I should mention that Terry Sherback ended up getting that school bus for the Horizon Project film, and she got that as an anniversary present from City Manager Greg, which, you know, they were in desperate need to be able to complete this film, and that's what she asked for. That's what she got. What a great guy. On May 8th, I attended a Wapiti Corridor Planning Society meeting. We're at the final stages now. Council can look forward to seeing the final report as well as an executive summary within the next 30 days. We're all really excited about that, especially guys like me who have been on the committee for 5 years and is really looking forward to seeing the end of it. Not for any bad reasons, but, you know, just to have another feather in my cap there. On May 9th, I attended the Policy Review Committee meeting. That's one where Director Ferguson and committee are going through every policy within the city, and those ones do show up at various committee meetings after they get a little bit of direction from our committee. I think it's a very worthwhile process, and it does, in the long run, eliminate a lot of red tape within City Hall. On May 12th, I participated in the Brian Harms race. This was a very well-attended event, and it was really great to see city admin working there, as well as RCMP cordoning off roads and making sure that we have a really safe event like that. It brought people from all over the region, Grimshaw, Fort St. John, Peace River. There was a racer that came all the way from New Brunswick. They were probably visiting someone already, but it was nice to see that they had participated. I do have to mention that my wife kicked my butt in this race, and I've never been humiliated so badly. No, it wasn't humiliation, but she, over the course of an 8-kilometer race, had put some considerable distance between us. So at the end of this month at the press run, which is the next big event in our city, I do hope to redeem myself. So we'll see how that goes. I issue a challenge out there. And finally today, for May 13th, I participated in the chair leaders event with a couple of the members of council, Councillor Kevin O'Toole and Mayor Bill Given, as well as several other people in the community. We left Eastlink Centre, or we started at Eastlink Centre with the proclamation. We did a little bit of an obstacle course. Then we left Eastlink Centre. Some of us took the disabled transportation bus. Some of us took the transit bus to just see the difference between the two. We went to the Prairie Mall, had lunch, did a little event out there where we split up and did some window shopping. We were all given assignments of stores to visit. And then we had a little bit of a break in the day where we could just explore on our own. Some people went outside and went to neighboring buildings. Some of us tried to go to work and realized that we can't get into our non-accessible offices. But there's always so much to learn. This is such a worthwhile event, and I really encourage anyone who wants to participate in this to volunteer to sit in a wheelchair for a day. You'll definitely gain a new perspective of what it feels like to be in this city in a wheelchair. And I have to commend Mika de Groot from the Canadian Paraplegic Association, as well as everyone who was on her committee, all the volunteers and all those agencies that offered support in various ways. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Wong. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Given. April 30th, I attended the CURS Next Generation Career Expo at the college, Grand Prairie Regional College. They figured they had about 800 children there from local schools from grade 10 to 12. And the one thing that really caught me was right at the beginning when you walked in was the Apprenticeship Training Board. So to have more youth get involved into apprenticeships, which a lot of apprenticeships you can make more money than actually going to university. So they want to get them involved, and this is another avenue, and I thought that was really stuck out. And there was one event, area booth there I went to where they could bring up the whole college and all the heating system and how it all works. And so as for me, I wanted to be like, how would you go about to change a filter or a quick fix to fix it? But the kids nowadays want to know the graphics, what graphics it was and how they got designed, and not about actually getting in there and the problem. So they look at it a lot differently. So that's a lot of children. So it was good to see, get them thinking about the future. As well, we attended on May 1st CAP, Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers Roundtable Center 2000. I thought it went very well. They had individual organizing it, and hopefully they'll take some of them ideas and bring them home. I think it's very important to the oil field in this industry and for them to be more involved in the community. May 1st as well, I attended open house for retirement for Walter Paskowski. It was fully loaded. I was actually in the hallway, but it was a lot of people there. So I wish him all the best. He says he's retiring, but we'll see. As well, that I believe that evening as well, me and my wife Tina attended Real Shorts Film Festival screening, and as well as the other councillor said, it was really marvelous. And this is my second event, my wife's third, I do believe, and it's really strong in the community and it's growing. I might have got the date mixed up, but I also attended the annexation meeting with council. Was it the 2nd, on May 2nd? And as we see tonight, I'm glad it's going forward. It's something that's been on the agenda the whole time this council sat, and I think the previous council, so I'm really glad it's going forward. May 7th, I had my quarterly meeting with Greg, city manager. As you can see, he's not here tonight. No, I'm just joking. I told him everything's going good, and I really look forward to meetings with Greg because he's putting a stamp on all his education, and with the city, he's doing a marvelous job. And I actually walk out of that meeting sometimes and about halfway through the day going, oh, I wish I would have brought that up with Greg. So hats off to Greg for doing a good job. On May 9th, I attended a Community Futures Board meeting. May 10th, I also attended Council Committee of the Whole draft on land use bylaw which is very, very important to the community, but it's one of those ones that's been around a long, long, long time, so I'm looking forward to being brought forward to council and passed, and a review maybe another 5 or 10 years. May 10th, I also attended, and this one was really good, the grand opening of the Taekwondo, dojo ribbon cutting, and it was marvelous. There was a number of councillors there, Councillor Rice, Councillor Radburn, Councillor O'Toole, Mayor Given, and Wayne Drysdale, MLA Wayne Drysdale. It was very well attended, and it was really packed, and I was very glad to see that. They were very excited. And then on May 11th, me and as well as Councillor Lauren Radburn attended the first Taekwondo official tournament. It was at the Leisure Centre. They had over 300 participants, about 150 from the city, 140, and 100 and some from Edmonton. And it was amazing how many parents came up for this tournament. And my 2 children were in it. They're in the Taekwondo studio. And it was a lot of pride because they treat respect, safety for the children. They pick children up from most of the schools and bring them to the facility during the day. But this tournament alone, Arctic Winter Games was involved. It was the biggest sponsor. And they came in with $4,500, and it really meant a lot to them. And I felt really honored to be there. So it was a really great event. And it was a total success. Even though I told them this is seed money, that was always planned for a first event. But they've grown into, they were already the flower, and they're just going to go even past that. And hats off to them. And the 2 that lead the Taekwondo studio here, which is one of the biggest ones in the city, is Mr. and Mrs. Martinez. And they do a really exceptional job. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor McLean. Councillor Radburn.
Thank you, Mayor Given. May 1st, I also attended the Vibrant Communities Grand Prairie's membership in the Vibrant Communities Canada and the release of the Grand Prairie Living Wage report. Also attended the Walter Paskowski retirement celebration. Pleased to be there to recognize Walter, but also Marlis, his wife, has been a long-time colleague of mine, so it was a double reason to go. Went to the premiere of the Real Short Films Festival opening night, and just kudos goes to Terry Serback and her volunteers for putting on an excellent event for our fair city. I also attended the council annexation workshop on the 2nd, on the 3rd, Grand Spirit Foundation meeting. And in the evening, I represented council and the mayor and read a Laughter Day proclamation and participated in a laughter yoga class at the Center for Creative Arts, led by certified laughter leaders Jennifer Wood and Marilyn Gorley. Intermunicipal meeting in Wembley on the 7th, and Grand Prairie Regional Tourism Association on the 9th, along with a land use bylaw review meeting. Was at the ribbon cutting for the Swan City Taekwondo Club facility on the 10th and 11th. I was able to bring greetings and speak to the volunteers and participants at the invitational tournament that Kevin just referred to, and was part of the Crime Prevention Week proclamation this afternoon, or this morning. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. On the 1st, I also attended the Grand Prairie Living Wage, and with guest speaker Liz Weaver, a member of the Vibrant Communities Canada we are now. I just wanted to let you know that the living wage for Grand Prairie is $15.55, and that would get you minimum survival in this town. I also attended the open house for Walter Paskowski. Later on that day, I attended the Sears Cosmetics and grand opening of the Spring Gala, and in that gala, they spotlighted some agencies and clubs that are highlighted in the city of Grand Prairie. Also later that night, I attended the Real Shorts Film Festival. We brought some guests. This is a festival that I probably would not have ever attended, but becoming on council, it has opened up my eyes, and we've actually brought other people to attend these sort of things, and hats off to Terry Sarbuck. On the 2nd, I attended the annexation mediation meeting with the consultants, and later that day I attended the Philip J. Curry Dinosaur meeting. On the 3rd, I brought greetings from the mayor and council to the Heritage Fair, which was at the Montrose Cultural Center, and there's students from anywhere from grade 4 right up to grade 9, I think it is. And they do, this is a regional attraction. People from Peace River showed up, and the area around Grand Prairie, so different communities. Items that were brought up were some hockey players and some Second World War, and usually they were items that their parents or their grandparents were involved with. So whether it's the Frank Slide or the Ogopogo or the first library in Grand Prairie, it was real interesting. On the 7th, I attended the intermunicipal meeting that was held out in Wembley, and hats off to Wembley for offering a great facility and great meal. Some of the items that we talked about there were the hospital update, and it's just interesting that there's already $16.8 million worth of work done already so far. And in a very short time, we'll have one more crane going up, so that's good to know. We also had a Saskatoon Mountain update from the county, and I gave a report on the airport. On the 8th, I attended the Peace Wapiti School. I was a teacher there that was found out that I'm a bit of a hunter education person, and he needed someone to give some subject matter which he had no knowledge of. So I gave a little talk on firearm safety and handling of firearms in the outdoors. On the 8th, I attended the GP Wellness Challenge End ceremony. There was a number of members from the city of Grand Prairie that attended a boot camp. And I won't go into too much information here, but I want to thank and congratulate Darren Lepchuk. He was the first place male, and first place female was Carrie Hildebrandt. Male second runner-up was Stephen Forgy, and female runner-up was Kim Salito. And just a little sneak peek, there was a large number of people that started this program, and it ended up with a bit of a smaller group. Hint, hint, they lost a lot of weight, and I want to congratulate them for having the initiative to take on this challenge. And on later that day, I attended the Avondale neighborhood meeting. Pretty soon, it was a safety meeting, and I'm thinking in the near future you're going to have a neighborhood association formed out of the Avondale. Also, I want to, on the 9th, I attended the draft land use bylaw and also the post-construction with the Philip J. Curry. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Councillor O'Toole. Councillor Munro.
Thanks, Mayor Given. I only have a couple as I've been traveling on holidays here the last couple of weeks. On the 9th, I went to the morning mixer out at the Dunes for the Chamber of Commerce, and it was actually great attendance out there. I was surprised how many people were up that early in the morning. This morning I also attended the Crime Prevention Week proclamation, and once again, congratulations to, or thanks to Councillor Rice for bringing that entertaining proclamation. Not necessarily a council event, but on Friday night I did attend the Canadian Parents for French Travel Club dinner. And for those of you that may not be aware, this is a fundraising event for some grade 9 students to spend a week in Quebec, in Montreal. The event is actually hosted or served by grade 9 and grade 7 students, and it was hosted at St. Joe's School. The dinner itself was prepared by Keith Curtis from the Keg, and I got to say, hats off to all those kids. There must have been about 30 or 40 of them out there serving a bunch of adults, and it was a really fun time, a great fundraiser. So it looks like those kids will once again be heading off to Quebec for a week of study. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Munro. On Tuesday, the 30th of April, I attended in Calgary for an alert board meeting. On Wednesday, May 1st, I was with Councillor McLean and others at the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers Lunch Roundtable, and later that evening I also attended the Real Shorts Film Festival. On May 2nd, I attended the annexation meeting, and on Monday, May 6th, I attended at Swanhaven School to discuss local government with one of their grade 6 social studies classes. On May 8th, I was at a sport council organizing meeting. We're getting very close, and council will be receiving notice of a founding meeting coming up early, well, in the next couple of months, as we get forward to getting an actual elected board in place for the sport council that will be able to start advocating on behalf of sport in the community. I also attended the land use bylaw review session, and on Friday, May 10th, I had a special honor to be able to attend a cultural gathering hosted by the Grand Prairie Aboriginal Circle of Services. They hosted a Aboriginal cultural gathering out at Camp Tamarack. I was there for the morning to take part in a pipe ceremony. It was a pleasure to be able to do the pipe ceremony and the smudging ceremony, and share in learning of some of Aboriginal culture and sharing with others that were there in attendance. And I want to put my thanks to the organizers of that event. Later that afternoon, I attended a ribbon cutting for the Swan City Taekwondo Club, as Councillor Rice and others had mentioned. Certainly my congratulations to the organizers, and my thanks for including all of us in such a central part in their celebrations. The next day, on Saturday the 11th, I attended the top of 214 place for the ribbon cutting of 212 Performance Center. Congratulations to the business owners there who brought a very modern, very urban style opportunity to the Grand Prairie's downtown core. If anybody hasn't been up to check it out, I would certainly encourage you to. You can do personal training, workouts, and all other sorts of self-improvement opportunities there with the best view in town. And this morning I was with other members of council at Eastlink Centre to pick up my wheelchair for the Chair Leaders Day. I'd just like to say I really appreciate the council members. This is the first time that I've brought my wheelchair to a council meeting, and I know Councillor O'Toole and Councillor Wong are here as well. I think it's important for us to remember that the people that occupy these seats on council may in sometime in the future bring their own chair with them, and so I think it's a really useful process for us to go through to experience this firsthand. I know that it's changed the way that I do business as the mayor and the things that I see and consider, and I'm sure that's done the same for the other members of council and the community members that have participated today. After picking up my wheelchair, I headed over to the City on 99th building after Councillor Rice had taken over my proclamation. Councillor Rice, thank you very much for doing that. I wouldn't have made it there on time anyhow with the wheelchair pickup, so thank you very much. I did have a chance, though, to meet with the Executive Director of Crime Stoppers, Northern Alberta and Edmonton region. She's out working to engage municipalities and start a discussion. Many of you may not know that Crime Stoppers is not government funded in any way. It's funded privately and is completely independent of government, although it is a real central partner, I think, to law enforcement in the province, and so it'll be interesting to see how they develop over time. At noon, I was down at the South Fire Hall for a Breakfast with the Boys planning meeting as we plan for a fall event to engage, the goal is to engage coaches and leaders of young men, so particularly focused on athletics. And following up from that, in the spring of 2014, our intent is to have a Breakfast with the Boys that targets youth male athletes to attend a breakfast. So for those of you that have attended events in the past, I think it's fair to say that the attendance had been focused largely on adults and oftentimes on sort of the choir, if you will. So we were preaching to the choir. We're going to try to refocus the event so that we're getting more young males in attendance so that we can share the message with them and probably some of the people that most need to hear it at an important point in their life. And with that, I think that's my list, and I will call our meeting adjourned. Thanks very much.